Chris Talley. Here we go. How we doing? Hey there, my name is Ed Howie, and this is Howie Grow a Brand.
1, 2, 3.
If you like what you learned from this video, help us promote this channel by clicking the like button below and subscribing to our channel. Ready to go? Let's get into today's chat. So the concept of human-centered design is all about innovation and problem solving that starts with thinking about the needs of the people you're designing for, your customer, and then ends with solutions that fit their needs. Today I'm talking with Chris Talley. Chris is a communications expert who most recently served as Senior Vice President and Chief Communications Officer for USAA. Prior to USAA, he worked as General Manager and Senior Vice President for Flashman Hillard in offices throughout the state of Texas. Chris has over 30 years experience in executive and corporate communications, all the way from supporting C-level support to engaging communities and organizations, both externally and externally, around their sole mission. You would think that human-centered design is a logical thing that we would all do. The reality is it has to be very deliberate. And just like human design has to be deliberate, human-centered communication has to be deliberate as well. Chris and I explore human-centered communication. You're going to want and enjoy listening to our chat. Chris Talley, welcome back to How We Grow a Brand.
Great to see you again, Ed.
You know, our last visit really struck a chord with me because it's amazing. You think about the complex situations that we both have had to help our clients and those we serve navigate. Absolutely. It always comes back to simplicity, doesn't it?
Sure does. It sure does. We're humans, so we get distracted. We like to test out new things and continue to grow and challenge ourselves. And those are all very, very good things, but that can't come at the expense of staying true to who you are, whether it's as an individual, an organization, an entity, anything.
You know, that's so true. And, you know, that really well tees up kind of what I'd like to talk to you about is this whole notion of human-centered design and how that leads to human-centered communications. I mean, wouldn't we assume that design by nature should be human-centered, but the reality is it really isn't oftentimes, right?
Well, oftentimes it's not, but you know, when you have a connection with a person, it cannot be replicated that easily because that human connection is central to our culture. It's central to how we were raised. It's been a part of mankind since the formation of mankind. And whether it's symbols, stories, legends, lore, etc., we all love and are drawn to those stories, and we sort of yearn for them, either subconsciously or consciously. And I certainly know that I draw fuel and inspiration from other humans and like to be with humans. Well, you know, these days, there's as much happening, a lot, in fact, 99% more on digital versus face-to-face or even in a Zoom call like this. So the challenge for the designers is how do I replicate that human-to-human connection to individuals with spirits and energy and needs and passion and replicate that in a digital platform where the device or the thing that you're reading or the piece of creative strikes the same emotional chord with me as you and I having this conversation today.
So really behavior, I mean, I control my behavior, right? How can you as a communicator affect my behavior?
Well, I can't force you to not eat that fry or sneak over to Catherine's plate and take a nibble of one of hers. But I can educate you. So I can educate you and say, Ed, you know what? We are all humans. Nobody's perfect on this planet. And so from time to time, if you have a French fry or two, or maybe a regular helping of French fries, it's not going to be the end of the world. Let's just not make it a staple for everyday meal. And maybe it's something you get to do once in a while. So I'm not going to necessarily put my messaging into Ed Howie, never eat a French fry, because that would be anti-human-centered messaging. Because you're a human, you're going to eat a French fry again sometime in your life.
Right.
So if we know that's the case, then what do I want to educate you to do? What do I want to inspire or motivate you to do? And to say, you know what? It's okay if I do that from time to time, but it's going to cost me maybe 20 more minutes in the gym on Tuesdays and Thursdays, or slightly different approach to the rest of the meals for that particular day or even a given stretch. And only you can make that decision. but I would never go to a message that would say, hey, Ed, never eat a French fry, because that's futile. That would mean I don't know my audience. You always talk about know your message, know your audience, and what you want people to do or don't do. And that same principle applies here, of course.
Isn't it interesting, though? Most diet brands, most nutritionalists kind of lead with the message, don't ever eat fries.
Yeah, they do. They do. The gym I go to, I love the coach that is working with us, because certainly he's seeking to get the most and the best out of all of us, but he's also recognizing that I'm a 54-year-old man, and I have certain limitations of what I can and can't do. So he knows when to push. He knows when there's a message for the whole class on a Monday. You're already here. You've already done the most important thing you can do, and that is get here. What you do at this time is up to you, and it's only up to you. But you can give a little bit more. We've only got 30 more seconds to go. Push that incline a little bit. Push up the speed a little bit, because you're going to be done in 30 seconds.
Sounds like one of my spin classes. I love it.
I knew I'd bait you with that.
I like that. No, but it's really true, because it's funny. It's like, it amazes me how many things are, again, we talk about it again, so simple, but we forget about it, is that, one of the lessons I learned early on is that mass communications, when designed for the masses, has no effect on the masses.
That's right.
Because there is no mass. There is no common denominator that clearly defines every single human. Just the opposite, right? And so the challenge I think we have, as I'm thinking through this, is how do you remind yourself of exactly who your community is, or who you want it to be? And even there, and so let's say that I'm offering let's say that I'm offering a, what we say, like a home extermination product that is all natural and organic. Okay.
Okay.
While everyone may need home extermination, there are people that are going to be more inclined, especially early on, to want to buy that product first. But if I still try to talk to all the people I imagine in that, it's still mass. But what I hear you saying is, I got to go down to the Chris Talley or your mom and really imagine, visualize, consider what it's like for the individual, not the masses.
That's right. What's their specific need? What's in it for them? We're all human. We all have our own specific needs. My mind was taking me, Ed, as you were talking about that, to a discussion I had last week with a strategy agency on the East Coast. And we were talking about the aerospace industry, so aerospace and defense, and what 340 million Americans think about the aerospace and defense industry. And the fact of the matter is that industry and the company that they are working with does not really need 340 million Americans to love that industry. Now, in general, we'd like to think that they're working for the protection of our country and the defense of our country and advancing causes where necessary, and that we can unify around that industry. So there's some degree of pride and Americanism that can be brought forward, but there's only so far you're going to take that, because 340 million Americans do not need to know what company A, B, and C is doing in defense. Now, you could probably determine about 1,000 people who really need to know, and inside of that audience, the maybe 100 to 50 decision makers about whether or not to award a contract to a specific defense or aerospace company. So that's a little bit smaller fraction than 340 million Americans. Same analogy applies from industry to industry.
So, as you're talking, one of the things that really comes to mind is the fact that digital media is like, I'm thinking about the small, mid-sized business owner, the person who's trying to really get that message to the right audience. Digital marketing can be deceptively simplified and deceptively deceiving. What I mean by that is that you think, oh, well, I'm able to narrow my focus so much that I've got this message, but if you don't send that message to the right population, you may have this narrowed message, but the audience is totally disconnecting with the message because you didn't target the right audience.
That's right.
So you really, as we're talking about human-centered communication, it's not just the messaging and the crafting of the message, it's the methodology, is how you communicate it. And so using your grandmother, Pam, is that right?
Mother Pam, yep.
Okay, your mother, Pam?
Yes.
So using Pam, Facebook may or may not be the best methodology to get to her, right?
That's right. That's right.
So really understanding not only what behaviors you want from what community, but then where does that community exist?
That's right. And we were talking about this earlier, the word community and communications and the connectivity there. And so my mom does engage in Facebook, but I would dare say that there would be no reason whatsoever to try to market to my mother in this particular case via Facebook. There's much more effective ways to do that. And in the case of her and my father, it's going to be on what TV programs they watch.
Right.
So that's where you're going to be more effective there. Take this podcast, for example. Why are you and your team investing time, energy, and resources into this podcast? Well, you and your agency have set out to inspire a million joys. And so along the way, if we can make somebody smile or feel more confident in the decision that they're making or better educated by spending this time having this conversation, just one or hopefully a lot more than one, you've picked up another joy. And so that's the reason this exists. That's the reason we're having this conversation. And where and how this podcast is promoted will be highly dependent upon who you're seeking to reach and how many joys you're seeking to garner.
It may seem like we're more disconnected than ever before. The reality is there's potential to be more connected than ever before.
That's right.
And if we want to do that well, we have to lead with the human-centered lens for our communications and for our connections.
Right.
And not imagine the masses, not imagine the audience, but truly imagine that individual that represents a portion of your overall brand community and connect with them.
That's right.
Genuinely, authentically, intentionally. Thanks, Chris. Always a joy. And I appreciate your brain and your humanity for sure. Cheers, man. Thanks.
Bye-bye. Have a great day.
Hey, I really hope this helps and inspires your day. If any of this works on your business this week, I'd love to hear about it in the comments or, hey, just message me. Can't wait to see what we chat about next time on How We Grow a Brand. We'll see you soon.